What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back for our Week 18 college basketball top 25 rankings. It's a little late here as we've been pretty busy. And as you can see, Ty is not here joining us. He has had a very busy schedule so far this week as he is on spring break. But I'm still going to be here ranking all the top 25, and we're going to get right into it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Get us to 100 subscribers. We're almost there. We're going to be giving away an autographed item. So you don't want to miss out on that. Dropping from our rankings, we got Ohio State and Alabama, two teams, both with two losses last week, and they're at the back of the rankings. So no doubt that we had to drop them. As you can see here, going to the others receiving votes, they didn't even get votes from us. You know, these teams have really been playing their butts off, especially Memphis, March Madness next week going to be great. And they just seem to hit their stride at the right spot. I mean, Notre Dame, been a very good ACC team being slept on. South Dakota State, they're playing right now. They're up a few. And by the time we're going to see this video, it should be over. And they're going to be in the tournament no matter what. But definitely some great teams on this list here. 25th, we got the Boise State Broncos. I know they lost at Colorado State, but this is still a solid team. The only thing that worries me, though, is team basketball. As you see there, they're 367th in the nation in assists per game. But they were the Mountain West regular season champions. They do get the 1 seed in the tournament. And I think this team's all but a lock right now to get in, unless they lose their first game. Then, you never know what could happen. But I would say Boise State is a very good team, probably sitting along the middle line for March Madness. 24th, we got the Texas Longhorns. Tough week last week, 0-2, but they did go against two top 10 teams and, two of the best teams in the Big 12. And this week, get the Big 12 tournament, looking to prove themselves this week. Picking up a couple wins will help them for seeding. But definitely a team probably along the 6-7 line for right now. But we're going to have to see how they play this week. 23rd, we got the North Carolina Tar Heels. Huge jump. Weren't even in our receiving votes last week. Come in, beat Duke at Duke. Coach K's last game. Always good to spoil it, again, especially against your rival. And they got the ACC tournament. They're hot at the right time. Probably the hottest team in the ACC. And right now they're looking like 6-7. Really good team. You don't want to face them. And especially if they get some good matchups. Baycott, he can dominate down low. And if you have a weak center, I think North Carolina could make a run. 22nd, we got the Colorado State Rams. Their only game was against Boise State, which they won. And this is another team from the Mountain West that really could win it all. I'd say they have a better chance of getting in right now for sure, compared to Boise State. I think what's going to come down to is resume, and Colorado State has a very good resume. At the beginning of the year, they beat some good teams. I believe an SEC team, and just some big conferences, they beat them. So that's helped them out to get where they are right now. 21st, we got the Yukon Huskies. Last week was kind of a shocking week, but then again, Creighton is a surging team as well. So it was a much deserved win for Creighton, and it's on the road for Yukon, so you got to cut them some slack. But this 22-8 team, Yukon team, they kind of took a little lull in the month of January, but they're back. And the Big East tournament can definitely help them for seeding, especially if they can pull off a win against Providence or Villanova. That's going to boost them up for sure. But definitely a dangerous March Madness team, probably sitting along the 5-6 line right now. 20th, we got the USC Trojans. Biggest fraud. I'm sure Ty would be saying the same thing here. And really, they need to respond in the Pac-12 tournament. We're going to see what they're made of. How can they respond from two big game losses? And if this is the case, I would not be very confident in picking them in March Madness to go far. So I'd be very cautious of them. 19th, we got the Houston Cougars. It should say 2-1 there after a very shocking, but then again, it was also a great game from Memphis loss. And they have the American tournament, and really they're in. It's a lock, probably around the 4-5 line, unless they get upset here. But I think it's going to be them or Memphis that's going to come out on top in the American, and I would not be surprised if they play each other again. All right, so at 18th, we got the St. Mary's Gales coming in. Didn't play last week. Won last night to move to play Gonzaga, and they are down 8 right now. They're the only team that beat them in the regular season, and they're giving them a game yet again. And the St. Mary's team has shown that they can hang with the big dogs. Definitely, sitting around the 8-9 seed, which is kind of surprising after we've seen them beat Gonzaga. But definitely a team that could challenge that 1 seed if they get the right matchup. 17th, we got the Illinois Fighting Illini, Big Ten champions, co-champions. after a Wisconsin loss on Sunday and a good win against Iowa. Now they got the Big Ten tournament, and it's gonna be tough. Let's just say that. If Michigan and Indiana match up well with Illinois, I think personally, and it definitely is going to be a first game that they're not going to want to play. They could get upset early, but this team, matchups, it's going to determine how they do in March Madness and even in the Big Ten tournament as well. 16th, we get the Murray State Racers, the OVC champions. They've won 21 games in a row. And they're still not getting that love, 30-2, and they're still around a 6-7 seed. I know that, they won their conference. They have 2 losses, blah, blah, blah. But, they hung with Auburn. One of their losses was to Auburn, and then they just had a bad loss. So really, they could be 31-1 if they didn't have that, bad game against Auburn. But I think 16th here is a fair ranking for them. AP poll has them at 19. So it's kind of just a personal opinion here. But this Murray State Racers team, definitely don't sleep on them as a low seed. 15th, we got the Wisconsin Badgers. That Nebraska loss I mentioned was a very questionable loss at home, senior night. And, you could have had the conference championship to yourself, but you blew it, and now you're co-champions. And a very interesting stat here is their last 3 wins have been by a total of 9 points. So they've been playing some close games and gutting it out. And, that's not what you want to see a team do going in a Big Ten tournament in March Madness, because if they could slip up really close games. But you got to give credit where credit's due. Johnny Davis has carried this team to where they are and definitely exceeding expectations for this year. 14th, we got the Arkansas Razorbacks, beat LSU, lost at Tennessee. I picked them to win March Madness a few weeks ago in bracketology, and I kind of along that same lines here. I think at worst, Sweet 16 exit. They're getting hot at the right time here, and I think they can really pull out the win in the SEC tournament as well. 13th, we got the Texas Tech Red Raiders, win against Kansas State, loss at Oklahoma State, and their defense showed out again. But then again, this is the offense that we kind of saw coming. 51-52 loss, a very ugly game. You don't want to watch it. But the defense, yet again, if they can play great defense, they're going to probably win some games in March Madness. Definitely the Big 12 tournament as well. But it's going to come down to defense and matchups. If they have a high-scoring team, this team could be a first-round exit. 12th, with the UCLA Bruins, pulled off a big win at home against USC on senior night. And they're getting hot at the right time. We kind of had them slide a little bit these last few weeks, but they're getting back up here. And going into the Pac-12 tournament, I think it's either them or Arizona, realistically, that have a shot at winning it all. 11th, we got the Friars, who won me money this year. I'd like to shout them out, of course, every video. Tough loss at Villanova. It was a great game, but I think if you look at that stat, the 11-2 in games decided by 5 points or less, the 2 losses have been to Villanova. So that's just been their kryptonite this year. Let's see if they can flip the script in the Big East tournament. It's always tough to beat a team twice, but 3 times is just almost impossible. So if they match up again, I got to go with the Friars. But congrats on them. Ed Cooley getting them to a Big East championship. 10th, we've got the Purdue Boilermakers win against Indiana. They finally got over the hump. It seems like it's a big rivalry, after they got, I think it was Indiana. They blew them out first game. Wisconsin, very, very good game, but just couldn't get that one done. But they did move down here a lot because, there's been lots of movement these last few weeks. And I think what's going to stop them from March Madness from making a run, Jaden Ivey, when he doesn't have a good game. We know Michigan State, we saw that kind of struggle a little bit. Then that's why they lost on the road. But I know neutral sites will be a big factor for a great traveling Purdue fan base. 9th, we've got the Tennessee Volunteers moving up after a big win against Arkansas. And Ty and I have been wrong on this team, at least right now. We've had them as kind of being some frauds early, and they've really hit their stride these last 2 months, getting them here to this 9th ranking. And the SEC tournament can either help them or hurt them, obviously, but I think it's going to help them more than it's going to hurt them. They will probably move to at least the 3rd round, I would say, or at least win 2 games and see where that takes them, and probably be around a 5 seed. But, those 5-12 matchups are always dangerous. And this is a team that, we're still going to ride that fraud comment till the season's over. 8th, we got the Duke Blue Devils. Tough loss at home against UNC. And Coach K's last game, very emotional, but they did win the ACC still in the regular season. So that's good. But this week, it's going to be his last ACC tournament run. And next week's going to be his last March Madness run. So time's running out on Duke. But this is a team that, could right their wrongs and give Coach K a better ending than we just saw last week, win the ACC and winning, March Madness. This is a year that really nobody knows who is the clear-cut favorite. Seventh, we got the Kansas Jayhawks. Started the week with a loss at TCU, but they responded by beating them at home and then beating Texas. So we didn't drop them at all. Seventh is a fair ranking for this team. The defense is winning them games. They're Big 12 co-champions, and nothing's really wrong here at Kansas, except that 20-point loss to Kentucky. It just seems like you have to mention it because there's some elite teams and then there's some good teams. And I think that's kind of the difference right now between this Kansas team is they're still stuck in that good team. But a Big 12 tourney run, they win the Big 12 tournament. I think they can move up to that elite tier. Sixth, we got the Kentucky Wildcats. 2 wins last week, and they're moving up a lot because, they're still top 30 in offensive categories at this point in the season. 3 of them, not just one, through all 3 big offensive categories. Assists per game, rebounds per game, points per game, they are up there. They're doing their thing. Oscar Kashibwe is carrying this team, potentially National Player of the Year. And more than likely, if they win that ACC tournament, they will probably be at worst a 2 seed. But give Kentucky credit. It feels like they're due for a run. John Calipari hasn't had a team this good in a while, and we'll see what they can do. Fifth, we got the Villanova Wildcats. Big win against Providence at home. Then went on the road, finished the season with a good win at Butler, and they're moving up all the way to 5 here. I know it may be a little bit of an overreaction, but more than half of those losses were to ranked teams at the beginning of the year. And since that moment, they've been really hot, especially beating Providence twice, even though Providence won the Big East, really showed their dominance against them. But right now they're sitting at a 3-4 seed, and I think this is one of those teams that, isn't a 1 or a 2 that won't get picked a lot. But if you're looking for a 3-4 team to win it all, I would definitely look at the Villanova Wildcats first. Fourth, we got the Auburn Tigers winning 2 games, getting back on track. But they're 3-2 in their last 5 going into the SEC tournament. They are the SEC regular season champions, so give them credit. Bruce Pearl got that extension. But now, all that aside, it's tournament time, and let's see what they can do this year. Third, we got the Baylor Bears beating Texas and Iowa State. Hottest team right now, I would say, in the Big 12. They're co-champions. But the big question mark is their defense. And if they can, limit people to 65 or under, I will say they will win probably 90% of the time. But if it's a high scoring affair, I do not like that matchup for Baylor. So that's weary about if they get a matchup, probably second round, because this is looking like a first seed. Second round, if they get an 8 or a 9 that scores a lot of points, I definitely, would think twice before picking Baylor. Second, we got the Gonzaga Bulldogs. I know you're looking, they didn't even play a game, but they're dropping down. And personally, this was kind of more me. I think Ty kind of sided with me here. But that loss at St. Mary's kind of changed some heads a different way. But they still are number 1 seed. Right now, they are winning by 3. As you know, scores changed since St. Mary's mentioned. But they're winning by 3 with 11 to go in the tournament and the championship. I mean, either way, they win, good for them. They're definitely number 1. They lose, they're probably still a number 1. But I think Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme, they're getting hot at the right time. They're not having the best game right now, but at March Madness, there's not going to be a lot of matchups that can stop both of those guys. So I think this team is probably an Elite 8 at worst, for them exiting. 1, we get the Arizona Wildcats after a 3-0 week, a win at USC, and closing it out with 2 easier wins. I mean, who else deserves to be at number 1 after 28-3 this year? Number 1 seed for sure, no matter what happens in the Pac-12 tournament, Pac-12 regular season champions, and a team that no one saw coming, absolutely no one. And here they are at number 1 on our rankings. And that's gonna be it for our video today. If you liked it, hit that like button below, comment what you guys are thinking on the rankings, as March Madness is just 9 days away officially from the second round, but the first 4 is a week away. So make sure you guys are back in here. We're gonna be loading up on all this content. Hit that subscribe button as well to stay up to date with us and be entered in that giveaway to 100 subscribers. But until next time, the Bench Buddies are out.
She never called back.